It was only 1 hour after my last spring semester final and I was already on board a northbound Tri-Rail train. We are on Tri-Rail train P638, an afternoon rush hour northbound, departing Miami Airport Station, taking aim on Mangonia Park, where I will be meeting with members of the South Florida Railfan Mafia. I would then be joined by fellow Railfan Rudy, RUFVC 12 from Cypress Creek onwards, and this 3-county system-wide Tri-Rail trip would turn into a 5-state trip with fellow Railfans Paul and Mike from the SFRM. Say hi, Paul the Legend.
Hi, Paul the Legend.
Paul, Mike, Rudy, and I were headed to the greater Roanoke, Virginia area to see Norfolk and Western number 611 do its 2 weekend excursions between Roanoke and Lynchburg and Roanoke and Radford. The long overnight drive took us from Pancake Flat, Florida to Mountainous, Virginia, and you can feel it not just by the terrain but also by the temperature. By Friday morning it was already 46 degrees. Now on to the trains. Looking at the ATCS for the Norfolk Southern Pulaski district, things looked a bit quiet this morning, save for an eastbound coming off of Bristol towards Marion, and that's where we would go to meet it. Marion, a Norfolk and Western era railroad town, no longer receives passenger rail service but is still a control point, and one of which still retains colored position lights. These would be the focus throughout much of Friday.
Norfolk Southern milepost.
Our first train is Norfolk Southern Train 23G, an eastbound, mostly international intermodal land bridge from Louisville, Kentucky to Norfolk, Virginia. Here's a personal first, distributed power units. Our next stop was Louisville, which too retains its colored position lights. Here came westbound 22A, which is 23G's westbound counterpart, heading back to Louisville, Kentucky with more international containers and a few bare tables. The 23G and the 22A would meet west of here, which means an extra shot of 23G. Met up with Mike Reed and Grady McKinley, had lunch at Hardee's, and went for a third shot of the 23G here at Weiser, which is another CPL signal still standing on the Norfolk and Western. Our next stop would be Radford, a very interesting small town with an equally interesting rail yard. And with this next train came a nice treat, the Wabash Heritage Unit trailing third on NS Train 201 from Harrisburg, Pennsylvania to Marion, Arkansas. This is Plum Creek and we are just a few miles east of town at the east end of the double track. Here comes 27B, auto racks from Walkertown, North Carolina to Shelbyville, Kentucky. Our next stop would be Vicker, a very interesting and photogenic location and site of engine move number 961. Behind him was train 821, empty export coal from Norfolk, Virginia to Williamson, West Virginia. It was very fitting to see these Top Guns passing through the N&W era coaling tower here at Vicker, which would make for a very key location for 611 throughout the weekend. Things suddenly got quiet on the Christiansburg district, but this seemed to have explained it. A LORAM Rail Grinder, the first I had ever seen in person. Here, the rail grinder was finishing up its day's work, preparing the rails for 611. And pulling into a sidetrack near the Christiansburg depot to tie down for the night. Christiansburg, another railroad town, would play host to a pretty interesting parade of westbound trains. First, it's 15T heading for Birmingham, Alabama. not far behind him was train 189, Crewe, Virginia to Bellevue, Ohio. At this point, I would realize that Christiansburg is a quiet zone. Trains cannot blow their horns through here unless it is an emergency. Back-to-back coal trains would soon follow. First, 825, which has the same profile as 821 from earlier. Day in Christiansburg, Virginia, train 815, which had SD70 Ace number 1030, which was used during the 30th anniversary celebration on the Part 2, we will ride on board N&W steam engine number 611, the real highlight of this trip. Thanks for watching. From Christiansburg and Roanoke, Virginia, this is TE out.